Now, do you have copies of the subpoena applications for
Yes,
these
Senator,
eight?
Senator, I can't discuss anything regarding this.
You can't even tell me if you have copies?
I can't discuss any of this.
All right,
with
when are
I'm
you
sorry.
going to, General, when are you going to be able to discuss it?
I can't discuss whether there is or is not a pending investigation,
I understand,
Senator. This
but
was
let's
just
assume
brought to light
if
by
there is a
Director
pending
Patel.
investigation, I don't want this to get swept under the rug, okay? Because I think you're going to get pushed back from all quarters. I think the telecommunication companies are going to be all over you like a bad rash because they've got liability here for just turning over these records when they knew what was going on. I think some FBI agents may have some liability here. I think a special counsel might have some liability here. If I were your special counsel and you had appointed me and I wanted to get the records of a sitting United States senator, is that something you would expect me to tell you as Attorney General of the United States?
They better have.
Yeah.
And
Do we know in this instance of the 8 sitting United States senators if they told Attorney General Garland?
Senator, I just learned about this very recently, as did Director Patel, and we cannot discuss the details. I don't know many of the details.
Well, maybe we ought to get Attorney General Garland here.
Senator John Kennedy just asked Attorney General Pam Bondi a simple question. Do you have copies of the subpoena applications for the phone records of 8 sitting United States senators? Bondi said she cannot discuss it. Kennedy asked again, "You cannot even tell me if you have copies?" Bondi said she cannot discuss any of this. Kennedy asked when she will be able to discuss it. Bondi said she cannot discuss whether there is or is not a pending investigation. That answer structure tells you everything. If there is no investigation, she could say that. If there is an investigation, she would say she cannot discuss it. But she cannot discuss whether there is or is not an investigation. That means there likely is one. And Kennedy made clear he does not want it swept under the rug. Kennedy then laid out the stakes. The phone companies may have civil liability for turning over these records without filing a motion to quash. FBI agents may have liability. Special counsel Jack Smith may have liability. And if Kennedy were a special counsel trying to get the phone records of a sitting senator, that is something he would expect to tell the Attorney General and the FBI Director. Bondi said she just learned about this recently. So did Director Patel. They cannot discuss the details. 8 sitting senators, all Republicans. Their phone records subpoenaed during the January 6th investigation. No notification. And the current Attorney General will not say whether she is investigating how it happened. Let's watch the full exchange and see what else comes to light.
General, welcome. Let's suppose that I'm appointed special counsel at the Department of Justice, and I go to the telecommunication companies, the phone companies. Let's single out AT&T, and I say, look, I know you're busy, but I want to see a copy of the phone records of a sitting United States senator. They're not going to just give them to me, are they?
No, Senator, of course not.
In fact, they're probably going to ask me what planet I just parachuted in from, aren't they?
Yes, Senator.
They're going to tell me to come back with a subpoena, aren't they?
Yes, Senator.
Okay. What do I have to show in that subpoena to get those phone records of a sitting? Did I mention it was a sitting United States senator? I can't remember. What do I have to show to get the phone records of a sitting United States senator?
Yes, Senator, there were actually 8 sitting United States senators.
Yeah, I heard that.
And you would have to have cause.
I'm sorry, what do I have to show?
You would have to have cause to get the
Good
subpoena.
cause or probable cause?
Probable cause.
Okay. Probable cause, or if it's a subpoena duces take them, good cause, to show what?
You would need good cause for a subpoena duces tecum, and what you would have to show is that you believed a crime had been committed, or there was a possibility of a crime, or that could lead to other crimes. We
By the Uni-
frequently, in criminal enterprises, subpoena cell
by the
phones.
sitting United States Senator.
Senator, they would have to have believed you were part of a criminal conspiracy, is my understanding.
Would a judge have to sign off on it? On the subpoena?
Yes, Senator. Well, for a subpoena ducas tecum, Jack Smith probably took it straight to the judge.
Now, the phone companies, particularly their general counsel, if they're worried about civil liability, even with a subpoena to get the phone records of a sitting United States Senator. Did I mention it was a sitting United States Senator?
Yes, Senator.
The general counsel for that phone company, let's say AT&T, they have the right to seek to quash that subpoena, don't they?
Phone companies frequently do that.
Yeah. And a smart general counsel for that phone company is going to call the sitting United States Senator and say, would you like to weigh in on this? Would you like me to quash the subpoena? We're talking about invading someone's privacy here by a sitting United States Senator. Could the general counsel for the phone company do that?
Well, Senator, if they believe that a crime could have been committed, they could not tip off the person who committed the crime. Again, I can't comment on details of this particular case.
I'm just asking you theoretically.
I've never seen you commit a crime, Senator Kennedy.
But let's suppose, okay, they didn't want to tip off the sitting United States Senator. But the phone company and the general counsel for the phone company, or companies, if there were more than one involved, could say, you know, this is serious as an aneurysm. This is serious as 4 heart attacks and a stroke. This is a sitting United States Senator. So general counsel would likely advise the CEO, well, you need to file a motion to quash. The telephone companies could have contested those subpoenas, could they not?
Hypothetically, yes. I can't talk about the facts of this particular case.
We're talking hypothetical.
Senator, subpoenas are issued all the time through phone companies working with the general counsel.
But they can file a motion to quash.
They could, yes.
Yeah.
In any case.
And if they should have filed a motion to quash, and a reasonable person would have filed a motion to quash, because this is a sitting United States Senator, and they didn't file a motion to quash, they would incur civil liability, wouldn't they?
Senator, typically phone companies follow a subpoena from a United States attorney.
I know they do, but they don't have to.
They could challenge it, Senator.
Yeah. And if they don't challenge it, they better have a damn good reason. Right? Right?
Senator, I can't talk about the facts of this particular case.
This is just a hypothetical.
In general, hypothetically, Senator, maybe they didn't recognize any of the names of the 8 sitting United States senators.
Hypothetically.
That was a joke.
Or maybe they should have gone to Amazon and buy some testicles online. Instead of just saying, sure, I'll just show you the phone records of a sitting United States Senator on the basis of an administrative subpoena. Now, do you have copies of the subpoena applications for
Yes,
these
Senator,
8
Senator, I can't discuss anything regarding this
You can't
case
even
with
tell me if you have copies?
I can't discuss any of this.
All right,
with
when are
I'm
you
sorry.
going to, General, when are you going to be able to discuss it?
I can't discuss whether there is or is not a pending investigation,
I understand,
Senator.
but
This was
let's
just
assume
brought to light
if
by
there is a
Director
pending
Patel.
investigation, I don't want this to get swept under the rug, okay? Because I think you're going to get pushed back from all quarters. I think the telecommunication companies are going to be all over you like a bad rash because they've got liability here for just turning over these records when they knew what was going on. I think some FBI agents may have some liability here. I think a special counsel might have some liability here. If I were your special counsel and you had appointed me, and I wanted to get the records of a sitting United States senator, is that something you would expect me to tell you as Attorney General of the United States?
They better have.
Yeah.
And
Do we know in this instance of the 8 sitting United States senators if they told Attorney General Garland?
Senator, I just learned about this very recently, as did Director Patel, and we cannot discuss the details. I don't know many of the details.
Well, maybe we ought to get Attorney General Garland here. Do you know if the special counsel told FBI Director Wray? Is that something? Let me put it another way. If I were your special counsel and you were the director of the FBI, and I'm trying to get the phone records of a sitting United States senator, did I mention it was a sitting United States senator? Is that something that you would expect me to tell you as director of the FBI?
In general, I would believe the FBI would help execute the subpoenas.
Yeah.
To the businesses.
Okay, I want to switch to another subject in the 12 minutes that I have left, since everybody else got to go over. I've got to ask you about this, General. Secretary Howard Lutnick on October 1 gave an interview to the New York Post about Mr. Epstein. And he described Mr. Epstein as, quote, the greatest blackmailer ever, close quote. Have you reviewed that transcript of that interview?
I have not reviewed the transcript, but I saw the clip of it.
Okay. It appears that Secretary Lutnick was Mr. Epstein's next-door neighbor. In fact, their townhomes shared a wall. And the reporter that was talking to Mr. Lutnick, she asked how other prominent men could have been associated with Epstein when Mr. Lutnick could immediately sense that he was a, quote, pervert. And then Secretary Lutnick said, or rather the reporter said, did they see it and ignore it? Do you remember that from the interview?
I do.
And Commerce Secretary Lutnick said, no, they participated. And then Commerce Secretary Lutnick goes on to say, quote, that's what his MO was. You know, get a massage. And what happened in that massage room, I assume, was a video. This guy was the greatest blackmailer ever, blackmailed people. That's how he had money, end quote. Is that true?
Senator, as our July memo said, we did not uncover evidence. This case has gone through 3 administrations, as well as former U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta.
I know that, Pam, but have you interviewed Secretary Lutnick?
No, Senator.
Do you plan to?
If he wants to talk to the FBI or the FBI wants to talk to him, that is more than on.
Don't you think you ought to talk to him after this interview?
Senator, if Howard Lutnick wants to speak to the FBI and if Director Patel wants to speak to Howard Lutnick, absolutely.
Okay. Maybe we ought to get Mr. Lutnick in here too, Mr. Chairman.
Let's go through what just happened, because what you just witnessed was Senator John Kennedy using a teaching method to expose a constitutional violation. He walked Attorney General Pam Bondi through the legal standard for subpoenaing a senator's phone records. Then he revealed that standard was not followed. 8 sitting United States senators had their phone records subpoenaed during Special Counsel Jack Smith's January 6th investigation without notification. And the current Attorney General will not say whether she is investigating how that happened. Kennedy started with a hypothetical. Suppose I am appointed special counsel at the Department of Justice. I go to AT&T. I say I want the phone records of a sitting United States senator. What happens? Bondi walked through it step by step. They are not going to just give them to you. They are going to ask what planet you parachuted in from. They are going to tell you to come back with a subpoena. And to get that subpoena, you need probable cause. Probable cause that a crime had been committed. probable cause that the senator was part of a criminal conspiracy. A judge would have to sign off on it. Kennedy asked what happens next. The phone company receives the subpoena. The general counsel reviews it. And if the subpoena is for the records of a sitting United States senator, a reasonable general counsel would file a motion to quash. Why? To protect the company from civil liability, to give the senator the opportunity to contest the subpoena, and to ensure that invading a senator's privacy is legally justified. That is standard procedure. That is how it is supposed to work. Bondi said the phone company could not tip off the senator if they believed a crime had been committed. Kennedy pushed back. The phone company does not work for the special counsel. The phone company has its own legal obligations. And when the target of a subpoena is a sitting United States senator, the stakes are high. Kennedy repeated that phrase multiple times. Did I mention it was a sitting United States senator? He was emphasizing the seriousness. A sitting member of Congress, not a private citizen, not a low-level staffer, a United States senator. Kennedy said the phone companies could have contested the subpoenas. Bondi agreed. Hypothetically, yes. Kennedy said if they should have filed a motion to quash, and a reasonable person would have filed a motion to quash, and they did not, they would incur civil liability. Bondi said phone companies typically follow a subpoena. Kennedy said they do not have to. They could challenge it. And if they do not challenge it, they had better have a damn good reason. Then came the reveal. This was not a hypothetical. 8 sitting United States senators had their phone records subpoenaed. The phone companies complied. No motion to quash was filed. The senators were not notified. Kennedy asked Bondi whether she has copies of the subpoena applications. She said she cannot discuss anything regarding this. Kennedy asked if she can even tell him whether she has copies. She said she cannot discuss any of this. Kennedy asked when she will be able to discuss it. She said she cannot discuss whether there is or is not a pending investigation. That answer is revealing. If there is no investigation, she could say so. If there is an investigation, she would say she cannot discuss it. But she will not say whether there is or is not an investigation. That suggests there is one. And Kennedy made clear he does not want it swept under the rug. Kennedy then laid out who may have liability. The phone companies for turning over these records without contesting the subpoenas. FBI agents who executed the subpoenas. Special counsel Jack Smith who issued them. And Kennedy asked whether Bondi would expect a special counsel to tell her if they were trying to get the phone records of a sitting senator. She said they better have. Kennedy asked if Attorney General Merrick Garland was told. Bondi said she just learned about this very recently. So did Director Patel. They cannot discuss the details. Kennedy suggested maybe Congress should bring Garland in to testify. Then Kennedy shifted to Jeffrey Epstein, specifically to Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. On October 1st, Lutnick gave an interview to the New York Post. He described Epstein as the greatest blackmailer ever. Lutnick said Epstein's operation was simple. Get someone a massage, video what happens in the massage room, use the video to blackmail them. That is how Epstein made his money, according to Lutnick. When asked how other prominent men could have been associated with Epstein when Lutnick could immediately sense he was a pervert, Lutnick said they did not just ignore it, they participated. Kennedy asked Bondi whether she has interviewed Lutnick. She said no. Kennedy asked if she plans to. Bondi said if Lutnick wants to talk to the FBI or if Director Patel wants to talk to him, absolutely. Notice the structure of that answer. Bondi is placing the decision on Lutnick and on Director Patel, not on herself. She is the Attorney General. The FBI reports to her. If she thinks Lutnick's public statements about Epstein running a blackmail operation warrant an interview, she has the authority to direct the FBI to conduct one. But she did not say she would. She said if Lutnick wants to talk and if Patel wants to talk to him, absolutely. That is not a commitment. That is a conditional deflection. Kennedy closed by suggesting maybe Congress should bring Lutnick in to testify. That went unanswered, but it highlights the pattern. When asked about subpoenas for 8 senators' phone records, Bondi said she cannot discuss it. When asked about interviewing the Commerce Secretary who claims Epstein was a blackmailer, Bondi said if he wants to talk or if Patel wants to, sure. Both answers deflect responsibility. Both answers avoid commitment. Here is what we know. 8 sitting United States senators, all Republicans, had their phone records subpoenaed during Jack Smith's January 6th investigation. The phone companies complied without filing a motion to quash. The senators were not notified. Kennedy asked whether Bondi has the subpoena applications. She cannot discuss it. Kennedy asked whether Garland knew. She just learned about it. Kennedy asked whether Wray knew. She cannot discuss whether there is or is not a pending investigation. The legal standard Bondi confirmed at the start of the hearing was not followed, and she will not say whether she is investigating how that happened. Subscribe and turn on notifications if you want the full record, not the sound bites. Federal Echo covers what was said, what was not said, and what the refusals mean. Share your thoughts in the comments. I read them all. 8 sitting United States senators had their phone records subpoenaed without notification. Who authorized it? Did the Attorney General know? Did the FBI Director know? Kennedy asked. Bondi said she cannot discuss it. That refusal is the answer.